Well, the good part about coming third is that Terry already covered a whole bunch of stuff, so I can skip through some slides, and so did Rick. My name is Tord Dennis. I'm out of Plano, Texas, and I'm representing Siemens today. So just quickly, we are a product lifecycle management software vendor. We provide everything from concept to delivery to the customer. So we've got CAD tools, we've got PDM tools, and we've got digital manufacturing tools. And kind of what you would assume is that with computers, it allows you to make more and more data faster, so it allows you to make, of course, products more faster, which, of course, is why we're here. People are actually producing products as quickly as they can. They're getting into the market and they're getting it, consuming resources, and this is a responsibility that we're all taking under our wing and trying to solve. So just a little bit of background about us. Our industries that we're involved in are discrete manufacturers. So I know there's a lot of industries being represented at this conference and in this room, but we are discrete manufacturers. So your consumer goods, your aircraft, your automobiles, those types of industries is what we target with our software. So again, running through a few slides, the environment is a very big concern. And one of the things that hits our manufacturers directly, other than the fact that this is in the media every day, is that whole idea of regulatory compliance. This is something that our people see on an everyday basis. All over the world, these things are popping up, and it's costing them money. They're trying to understand what's in their products and how to report this information to these different bodies or anybody who is concerned about it. But along with that comes the public advocacy groups. And this is another thing that helps to raise the awareness, not only to bring it to the regulatory bodies, but also to keep it in the public awareness. So here's a great slide that comes out, I think, every year from Greenpeace. Hits high-tech companies directly, and it really raises the awareness of what's in your products, and they're starting to expand it to other things like energy consumption. You know, how green are your products really and truly? And everyone's taking notice of this, not only the compliance aspect, but they see there's an aspect of public goodwill in presenting a green face to the public. And we've seen this also down in the automotive industry. Aerospace industry is also looking at it. I think Richard Branson had a little experiment that he did with pulling an aircraft to the takeoff portion, place on the runway, instead of having it move under its own power. Even the U.S. Air Force is playing around with biodiesel fuel and alternative fuels. But the big question comes, what do customers really, really think? Are they really going to pay for it? We saw a big spike in gasoline prices and oil prices last year, and the prices, the availability of hybrid vehicles went through the roof, or it basically disappeared. Then the prices went back down. I have friends who also went to buy vehicles this year, new vehicles. And after looking at all the different vehicles and looking at Priuses and that whole concern about the economic woes, they ended up buying an Acura after saying, I'm going to buy a Prius, I'm going to buy a Honda Civic. When they did all of their mathematics and all of their economics, they ended up buying an Acura because it fit their family, it gave them the comfort that they were used to. So hold that thought, I'm going to come right back to it. So again, running out of time, looking at CPG, this is one of our industries that we're interested in. They're also looking at sustainability. They're looking, compliance is something that everybody must do, and that's a good thing. It kind of put it on the table that they have to do this. And now they're starting to look at sustainability and saying, okay, if we must do compliance, maybe this sustainability allows us to differentiate ourselves from our competitors. maybe this is where we can get that extra bit of profit that we may have lost some money in the compliance aspect. So, not to get into a big debate here, everybody's probably seen this. This is what, and we talked about it a little bit. This is one of those things when we start talking about what is sustainability, what's the impact to the environment, which is better, buying a Hummer or buying a Prius. You start adding up the cost of putting in new factories, putting in new ways of delivering fuel for it, maybe a hydrogen cell vehicle, a hydrogen-powered vehicle, or disposing of batteries. How do you actually quantify the impact to the environment, the total impact to the environment? So again, we see ourselves as a product lifecycle management company. And our desire here is that if we look at how our customers design and manufacture their products, they have some very basic inputs of energy, water, materials, and components that they take in that go into the development of the product, directly get consumed as the product is being made. And then they also take in energy, water, materials to process this, and out of the other side comes a finished product. But along with that, there's waste that comes out. So there's emissions, there's energy, there's noise, there's additional materials. And one of the things that and then also there's transportation. All of this materials have to be transported to places where it can be assembled into the product, and then the final product has to be delivered to the customer. So things that we're looking at and things that we're addressing is how do we eliminate that byproduct in the manufacturing process? How do you make sure that everything that you use in the manufacturing and in the design process, because there's also energy and materials being used in the design process, how do you consume all of that and make sure that it goes into the product? But then along with that, you end up with a product that ends up in the landfill eventually. So instead, and then of course a lot of people, so you have to dispose of it, you try to recover the energy, you try to recycle it, you try to reuse it. But one of the things that we're looking at is how do you prevent as much material from having to be recycled, reclaimed, or reused in the first place. So this is all about optimization. So just a few quick examples, because I see I'm already starting to buzz and run out of time. In the CPG company, in the CPG industry, they're looking beyond recycling. They're looking at the reduction of packaging. They're looking at supplier management, and a lot of this, again, comes from the compliance aspect. Lots of big stories in the news, hazardous materials in Legos, in Mattel toys. A lot of, as these companies have started to outsource to save costs, they've pushed responsibilities to other parts of the supply chain, and that's what they're trying to understand and they're trying to manage. But they've also pushed all of this energy and material requirements to those other pieces. So one of the things that we've been doing is working with our customers so that they can do more intelligent design. You know, going back to some of the stuff that Rick was talking about, giving them that awareness of how their products impact the environment, how they impact energy usage, how they impact it from the logistics. This is an example of Unilever trying to make smaller and smaller packaging or more compact packaging that actually contains the liquid and doesn't use any additional waste. Automotive industry, they're interested in emissions reductions, eliminations of hazardous substances. This is another piece of where our technology, or where we're helping engineers understand how they're manufacturing their products. So looking at the different types of processes that are being used, stamping versus machining, what type of processes, what type of energy, what types of materials are being used in those processes. High tech is a great industry because they're very highly regulated. As one of our partners here, John, will attest to, we've worked together very closely on hazardous materials in the high tech industry. And they're very interested in understanding how the impact of their suppliers on their product lifecycle development. So just some final thoughts here. Again, as Rick was saying, one of the things that we need to do is, or what we're trying to do is, help our customers establish clear metrics to measure and track their green performance. At a bottom line, compliance equals cost. It's the cost of doing business. They know they have to do this. What they're looking at is ways of getting above that cost, of being able to add additional value and setting themselves apart from their competitors. But sustainability ultimately requires a cultural change. And it requires a cultural change not just in the customers or in the manufacturers, but in the consumers. And consumers are fickle. So right now, in the environment or in our today's culture, everyone's thinking about their jobs. Gas prices have dropped, and everyone has pointing fingers at different places. You're looking at the fact that China is no longer requiring a lot of resources, neither is India, so the cost of raw materials are dropping, so cost of everything else has dropped also. So people aren't so focused on that. People are more focused on their homes, on their jobs. There's a big culture change until consumers start to really drive manufacturers and say, we're going to buy this. Manufacturers are always going to take the easy way out. Designers need to have quantifiable guidance, and this is, I enjoyed the slide that Rick put up. That awareness is something that we're trying to put into the tools, so that as you're starting to design, from the very first mouse click, when you decide, I need to build this tool, I need to have some guidance that says, I can either machine this and it's going to consume this type of material, or this material comes from this region and it costs this amount in energy or water or natural resources, or I can use a different process because of the way I'm designing it, and give it a score that designers can measure and can be able to use to say this is a more greener design or a better design than that, based on some scale that they want to set up. And corporations need to rethink their product life cycles. Everyone in here probably has had at least 2 cell phones in the last year alone. Planned obsolescence seems to be something that companies don't talk about, but it's actually there. You buy a printer, it comes with a can of toner that's half empty. It's already ready to be thrown away because you're not going to refill it. Printer companies make money by selling you more toner.
Thank you.
Companies have to adopt a cultural change and start to realize that the way they're doing business, the way they're making money, has to change. You can't continue to produce 20% growth, double-digit growth every year by selling new stuff because your old stuff is obsolete. We talked about the vehicles, perfect example. Thank you.
Thank you.